All right, we are here with an old friend. Please introduce yourself, sir. What's your name?
Ben Solak.
Sounds familiar. From what? Outlet?
Yeah, ESPN, I think. ESPN,
nice.
yeah, that's the orders. Yeah,
That's great.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm well, man. It's Super Bowl week. Like, I don't know. You feel like a kid in a candy store all over again. It's exciting.
It's very exciting. It's exciting to see you. EJ, you booked this interview, so you want to lead this bad boy off?
I mean, well, no, I just want to say how much of a fan I am of Ben's work. I feel like we're not selling Ben enough right now.
I think our audience knows Ben Solak.
I did not walk into a Bo Wulf interview thinking Ben Solak was going to be sold and supported, all right? That was not an expectation I had coming in.
Very excited to have you. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts with you.
Okay.
As someone...
The Eagles quarterback, just so you know.
He wears 2 or 1.
Depends on the year.
What was your general takeaway watching the Eagles this season? Obviously, you are invested in this team. You care about what the offense looks like, how they perform. What would you say the experience was like for you this year?
About as frustrating as I think it was for everybody else. Then there's the additional layer of you also, I do the national coverage for ESPN, and the Jalen Hurts discourse was a tough discourse for last year's Super Bowl run into this year. So there's the additional layer of that where it's this is frustrating to watch as a fan, and it's also really hard to talk about from who's at fault, is this viable, is this not viable, can this work, can this not work, so on and so forth. The real thing is just you've seen so many offenses change and so many quarterbacks change over the course of a season, and while Jalen does a good job, I think Jalen always improves year over year. They were really stuck in the mud just in this season, right? They walked out with something in week 2, and it was the same issue they were having in week 15. And that to me is more of a referendum on coaching than it is on player, but that is atypical and not characteristic of Jalen. That was frustrating to watch.
And so it does set up a nice natural experiment this season where I think we do feel like the Jalen Hurts offense, there is only so much you can change about it.
Yep.
But this season with obviously clearly coaches with a different background, you're going to see okay, how much can you change a Jalen Hurts offense, right?
Yes, and I think you can change it more than people are realizing and anticipating.
Tell us about that.
Because I think oftentimes we trick ourselves into thinking that offensive coordinating is just sitting at a box with 5 dials and it's just turning the under center dial up and down and trying to the play action dial. When in reality, there's a lot of
well, to be fair, it did kind of feel like that's how they operated this year.
Yes, and at times,
and they could only turn one dial every week.
And that's why I say from the outside we reduce it to that. You would hope on the inside maybe it doesn't get reduced to that. But when you bring in different guys from different systems and different voices, okay, maybe we're going to still be a very heavy shotgun team and we're going to throw a lot of these stop routes and a lot of these vertical routes, but we're going to change the way we think about the coverages and we're going to change the speed at which we execute it. There's a lot more shades of gray and details and slight adjustments in coaching that can make a quarterback's overall numbers in true media look quite similar, but the actual performance and the success be a lot different, right? That's why, again, talking about how we talk about quarterbacks nationally, sometimes it's very hard to be quarterback big numbers, quarterback many touchdown, but bad. There's so many different ways to skin a cat in the NFL, and so the hope is with Mannion and with Grizzard and with Sirianni and with new voices in the room, the Eagles can still work within Jalen Hurts' preferred offense, but execute better kind of in that structure.
And what does that look like for you?
Yeah.
That is the golden question. If you could pick out the things that Sean Mannion can bring to this Eagles offense, what are some of the things you think can get the most out of Jalen Hurts?
So people talk about the under center, people talk about the intermediate middle of the field. The number one thing is the movement. You do not want you lived in a world where Jalen could just operate in the pocket for 3.5 seconds because the offensive line was elite, and then you discovered this year that you just don't get to print that every single season. Yeah. Stoutland and that front office have done an amazing job in general, but we're in the Tyler Steen era now. We're in the Lane Johnson's 35 era now. It's just not going to be the same. So we have to manually move the pocket. We have to be more willing to move the ball by design. And then 2, we need Jalen to be more willing to leave the pocket and more willing to throw when he does leave the pocket. Jalen is a good mover. He's got that thick running back build. He doesn't like to throw on the run. He's not very loose. And we have to be able to access that more. That also gives us a lot more easy completions. When you watch the Super Bowl on Sunday, you're going to see Clint Kubiak take Sam Darnold and roll him out and sprint him out in the intent to get him in rhythm, right? It's how you get the guy moving a little bit. And the Eagles were just constantly 1 step from the gun, 3 step from the gun, and certainly our tackles will hold up. And that's just not... That was NFL football. That's never NFL football. It was Eagles football for the last 5 years, absurdly so, but it's not how it works in the NFL.
And do you think that in an offense that could potentially be without A.J. Brown, there is enough from what you understand of the mystery man of Sean Mannion and add a little Josh Grizzard in there that they can do those kinds of things?
Yes, but like I don't think there's a lot of coordinators and offensive minds in the world that could go Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, and
he's a free agent too, so he's gone.
And Grant Calcaterra, right? Because obviously Goddard's coming up as well, and say like we can make a really good.
We forgot about
Darius
Cooper, who's a stud, but
the goat. Britton Covey obviously going to get back activated.
Which one of you guys is the bigger Tanner McKee head here? I feel like we need. I don't know.
Me.
I don't know.
I invented the guy.
I personally, I have like 2023 tweets of Tanner McKee in preseason.
2023, get out of town. Please. A week into to training camp, he was my guy.
Well,
As a rookie.
Yeah, I cover the draft, right? And that's before training camp.
It doesn't matter. I got eyes on him.
Love McKee. McKee's the GOAT. But
so what would you trade Jalen for then?
Yeah. But that's the funny thing is anytime I would ever say anything about Jalen, people would always hit me and be like, "Oh, well, you just want to see McKee start." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I do," mostly from an entertainment factor. Yeah. But yes, if AJ's out and Dallas is out, like they've been such a dense team in terms of target distribution in the league with those three guys. You just need more than warm bodies to take those reps. Like you need actually, legitimate players here. And so you can be really excited about Mannion and Grizzard, but if this ends with kind of a noxious AJ Brown departure and also they don't bring Goddard back on the money, there's nobody who's really solving that lack of pass catcher problems for you. So that's a Howie issue for March and for April.
Has this been cathartic for you talking about the Eagles? Like, I feel like you must need like outlets to vent about this team sometimes.
It's like I would say like 3 out of every 4 games I watch them and I feel very much so like, oh man, I'm not a fan and like this is my job and like I just don't enjoy this the way I used to, and I also don't like go with the ups and downs the way I used to, right? Like Jordan Davis returns that field goal against the Rams and I was kind of like, man, that's crazy. I don't like live it the same way I used to live it. And then every so often a game will hit where like the offense, like the Giants Thursday night game, I was like, oh my God, I'm a fan again. I was like, I was furious the whole game watching it. And so it hits me in spurts and fits in and starts. So I don't think I need the catharsis, but then all of a sudden, yeah, I'll need the catharsis.
Yeah. How much do you attribute your career success to leaving Shield behind?
Very. Not only would I say very little, I would say that in the 2 years since I've left Shield, I've turned to Shield and asked him a lot of questions, got a lot of help from him because Shield's just that caliber of a guy. And I know you don't know a lot about that.
I want to no sell. This is unbelievable.
Yeah. But no, 0. If anything, negative from leaving Shield behind.
And you, EJ?
I mean, listen, there's only one person on here that is going to hate on Shield Kapadia, and it is not going to be me. I owe a lot to Shield.
All right. Any final like Eagles thoughts that you just want to get off your chest before we let you go?
I've got one more for Ben too.
What's that?
You were like the only guy I heard that was pro Jim Bob Cooter from like a schematic standpoint, not from a content standpoint. I have to ask you why.
Jim Bob's good at his job. The 2014-2015 Stafford years in Detroit were quite good. He coached exactly what that offense needed. I've been lucky to go to and talk to the Colts staff a couple of times because I live close to them, and that locker room and that staff feels very strongly about Jim Bob in terms of the value that he brings. Long lexicon, long Rolodex of NFL offenses. Yeah, he runs like tried and true stuff. No, he's not turning the big Sean McVay dials. Ooh, look at the motion. Look at the under center. But in terms of, again, talking about guys who could get Jalen's head in a little bit of a better spot for executing what Jalen does best, I thought Jim Bob Cooter was a likable guy.
Just be careful when you're talking about turning dials with the Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter. Also, great name. Awesome name, man. You just love to root for a Jim Bob Cooter.
All right. Ben Solak of ESPN, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, man.
We'll catch up with you later.
Yeah.